do. But importantly is that I came in here, leaked underneath, then I trap his arm, moving backwards with Wu Sao against my body, and go for whatever shot I want to do. Now another way I can use that Wu Sao wrap is against the kick. So when Gavin goes to side kick me in the body, now what I did here was stop the shot with a downward elbow. Then I used the Wu Sao wrap to get his foot tied up against my body, pulling up against his ankle. That leaves him open for a lot of other shots. All right, next I'm going to talk about throwing into the Fuk Sao position and then the open into Tan, that short opening. Now that throw and closing of the hand, if you notice I throw my hand sharply and then I close 3 fingers and pinch 2 going forward. And that simulates the movement in sticky hands that I just talked about a minute ago, the Luk Sao or rolling hands. So for example, when I'm in this position here in sticky hands, the high Fuk, there's the throw. I used that throw to put a little bit of pressure on his arm, but without tensing up. I can keep myself loose, but still pressure the Bong Sao. Then when we roll down, 3 fingers clip onto his arm and 2 pinch. The reason I do that, I don't want to try to grab with all my fingers because my arm will cramp up and I'll be stiff and I won't be able to keep my elbow in. But for some reason, I guess it has to do with your physiology, it is possible to grab with 3 fingers and leave 2 out, so you can still keep your elbow in proper position. So in the rolling hand cycle, what I do is, throw, clip on, throw, clip on, throw, clip on. And when I get to the sticky hands tape, I'm going to talk more about that. All right, next I'm going to talk about pak sao or slapping hand block, which you notice in the form I keep my fingers open because I'm waiting for hand contact. When I actually apply it, though, I do close my fingers. Now, for example, when we're open, when Gavin gives me the jab, pak sao slaps down the center line and sort of sticks onto his arm, pushing down into the center. I'll explain more about the cutting angle when we get to that in the theory tape. Now, from position here, I could use the tan sao that I showed earlier to take over for the pak. So again, at speed, it was. Now, another way of using the pak sao, say for example, closed position, prior bridge contact or not. If I'm touching arms with him, I'll just use the pak to trap the arm. So what I'll do is come in and just shoot that punch in. Now that could have happened either from just touching like this, or if he would have thrown the punch first and say I used tan, then there's the pak. So as the retrap. Then you remember the Hien Sao scoop that we used earlier, there's another pak sao application. All right, next I'm going to talk about pak into Jing Jiang directly. You notice that I don't retract my hand before going into the palm strike. I go right from the pak sao motion, use elbow power for the palm heel strike. Now for example, what that would be is after having stopped the punch with the pak sao, go straight into this punch, or palm strike rather. What you don't want to do is you don't want to bring the other hand back because you could be getting hit in between before you could get your shot in. So what you'd rather do is make it quick and go straight in. So at speed, it looks like this. Now closed, I could do almost the same thing after using Wu Sao to block that first shot. I went in here and then again followed up. So at speed, that would look like this. All right, next I'm going to talk about Gum Jiang. You notice that I flip my hand as I go down, and that's a palm edge strike. Now, for example, when we're open, Gavin gives me the jab. After bong, I can use that to cut down to the body, so I can use it in that way. So all I did here was from Bong Sao, I grabbed and cut straight down to attack the body. Now I can use it as what's called the leakage attack. Again, if we're open and I throw the jab, if Gavin uses the Bong Sao, what I can do is leak through the middle into that motion. Now again, what that looked like was jabbing here and then cut down with the edge of the hand, then I went through. So at speed, that would look like this here. All right, another way I can use that Gum Jiang motion from sticky hands, if I were to have attacked to the body and then trapped that shoulder, I can use that as a neck-breaking strike. So what I did again, slow motion, is I went in, attacked the body, slipped up to trap the shoulder, and stepped in with Gum Jiang, applying counter pressure. All right, next I'm going to talk about Hao Chang Jiang, or rear spade palm. So from position here, I'm showing it sideways so you can see it more clearly. You can see my wrists are chambered, and then I shoot back. Now what this is designed to do is to bring out your front shoulder. So when you pop your arm back like that, it makes your shoulder protrude. So for example, in sticky hands, what I can do is go into, say for example, headbutt. I can then use my shoulder to strike. And you can see I throw my hand back, and that brings the shoulder forward. All right, now another way I would use that is if he just grabbed my wrist, I can use that throwback to pull him into the headbutt and then again into the shoulder. So you see that the further I pull my hand back, the more it pulls him into the shot. Another way I would use that is to break his elbow after he blocks me. For example, if I threw the jab and Gavin used that block and hit here from my Wu-Sao position, I can use that to hyperextend the shoulder and even break it. And then again, apply that trap and hit. Now I can also use it as an emergency block to stop a shot when I'm totally trapped up. For example, if Gavin went for the double pocket, what I did there was use my shoulder to bounce him off. So slowly, when I felt my hands trapped up and I had no other choice, I kind of bring my shoulder up and roll his punch off to the side. So you can use your shoulder in that way. It's not the best block in the world to use. You don't really want to always, hit like that, but it's one of the ways that you can use it. All right, now another way I can use this is to block a round kick that's coming sort of from an angle from the rear. So when Gavin goes to round kick me to the back, I can use that Hao Chang Jiang motion to block backwards against the shin. Slowly, I threw it back, and you can see that in relation to my own body, it's similar to the way it is in the form. All right, next I'm going to talk about Chun Gum Sao, or front pinning hand, which is again not closed in the form, left open, waiting for hand contact. Now, from a position when I'm open with Gavin, if he were to throw a low punch at the body, I would use the Gum Sao to stop that downward. So slowly, what I did was just slap down and stick onto his arm. Now I can use it against the uppercut. Say, for example, he tried to get my hands up with a high shot and then went for the uppercut. There again would be an application for Gum Sao. So what I did here was block and then went straight down to stop the uppercut. I could use that same type of a block against that rear knee shot for the groin just by dropping my hand down. Again, drop down and stop that knee. Now, against a powerful kick to the groin, you might have to use footwork, but you could also stop it with the Gum Sao motion. So, stepping back as you block. All right, another application for Gum Sao is as what I call a retrap. So, for example, after having stopped the jab here, I use my Gum Sao here to what I call retrap or take over the trap, pressing his arm down so that I can hit from the safety zone. And again, retrap, just to make sure he's not hitting me. See, in other words, if I did Tan here and then I didn't bother retrapping and I just went for the shot, first of all, his arm could block me, or even if I got through, I could be getting hit. So what I prefer to do is, after having blocked something, I like to keep it tracked, keep it under control. Now, another way I might want to use this is what I call plant trap hit. After I kick, say for example we're, open. If I came in and I threw a shot down to Gavin's knee, I might use my descending momentum here and a plant trap hit with Gum Sao. Now I'll talk more about that in the Chum Q form explanations. All right, in sticky hands, I can use Gum Sao as what I call a conversion press. So from the Tan, what I did was just knit his hands, weave his hands into a trapped position, and then retrapped again using the Gum Sao. Now, another way I might use it as a conversion press is after a successful strike, when he goes to hit me, I can convert and then again retrap. Those are all Gum Sao applications. So again, in slow motion, what I did was I hit him, and then I used Jeep Sao, which I'll talk more about at the Chum Q level. But after having used this, I just convert to what's called Gum Da, or Gum Sao and hit. Now another thing Chun Gum Sao does is it hides the side shoulder principle. Because it, like this protruded my front shoulder, this makes my side shoulder protrude. Now I would use that, for example, against a grab, a cross grab in this situation. I can go into that position to bounce him back. So in other words, what I did was, all I did was step into the same position I was in Siu Lim Tao. If Gavin disappeared, it would look just like the position from the form. Now I can use it in sticky hands as well. In the same way, what I'll do is bounce him into a shot, use my shoulder, and then pull him right back in. Now what I did here was just leap through the top, went into that position, straight out of the form, and then as he bounced back, I was waiting for him. All right, next I want to talk about Lan, Fun, Lan. So you see that from position, I go left over right, chop out, and I come back right over left. So why do you start out one way, chop, and come back the other? What you have to do is turn one of the hands over on the way back to unlock the secret technique. It's not really a secret, but it's hidden. Now, for example, when Gavin goes to punch me, after having used Bong Sao, I use Lop, Chop, Lopin, Fun Sao, and then retrap and hit. That movement comes directly out of the form. As you can see from Bong, what I'm doing is going here, one hand over the top, and then that hand that chopped out came back underneath. So you can see the movement's hidden there. In other words, the one hand that was on top and then it came back underneath. So that's how it works. It's kind of a hidden application. Now another way to use the movement of lan and then right into the double chop, straight out of the form, if he were to grab my lapels, try to hold me in that way, what I could do is pull him into a headbutt. Now what I did here was grab over the top and that pulled him down so I could hit him with my head. Then I go in with the chop, keeping the trap, chop again, re-trap and punch. And that's straight out of the form. So at speed that looks like this. Alright, another way I can use lan sao is as a layover trap. So for example, after hak da and then grab chop, I could lay across both arms. So again, right out of the form, chop into lan. See what I did was, from position here, let's say chop here, grab, chop, and then back down into lan while that one hit. So that comes straight out of the form as well. Now finally, another way I like to use the lan sao is to choke as a trap around the neck, or to throw. Say for example we were open and Gavin gave me the punch. After bong and hitting here, I might attack him in a number of ways here and then go into a choke, which you can see I'm trapping his shoulder and going against him and then choking here with lan sao. It would be easy to just take and throw him down from that position. Alright, next I'm going to talk about the chop down into double jam sao. Now that movement is again not finished. If I was really using it, I'd be twisting it, but I don't want to do it in the air. I want to wait for hand contact before I finish the movement because it burns forward and bounces him inwards. So from open, when Gavin gives the jab, I use jam sao right down the center line. You can see that when I make contact with him, it touches this way. And then only on contact does it twist and move forward. So for example, I might, after the jab, go into the chop here. So what I did was block, grab, chop, and then finished it up. Now, another way I might use, or another follow-up against the 1-2, for example, after having used this, I could go into my straight punch exclusion. In other words, after having used the jam here, I just bounced his punch out with my own punch, and then retrapped and punched again. Alright, next I'm going to talk about the quick flip into the double tan from the jam sao. This hides a principle known as yat fuk yi, or one hand takes care of two, which I'll talk more about in the principles tapes. Now, from position, for example, if Gavin threw me the first shot and I did use jam, and another one came, I could go straight into the tan, just out of the form. So you see, once again, it was jam, tan. And that would be an example of yat fuk yi, or one hand taking care of two, because the first hand blocked, and the same hand blocked again. It doesn't have to be jam to tan. It could have been, for example, hak to tan, or it could have been bong to grab, or it could have been fuk to biu. There's a lot of different ways you could go. It doesn't have to be those exact combinations. Alright, next I'm going to explain about jut, biu, and follow with a third jut. So those three movements in sequence. Now it doesn't have to be done in double like it is in the form. You could mix and match the hands as you see fit. So for example, against a single jab, I could go jut, biu, jut. And what my hand did was jut, biu, jut. Now I might do something else with the other hand. I might go jut here and then check, and then retrap and hit again. But the idea is there. Now, if, for example, he threw a 1-2, I could go jut, biu, jut. And there again, my hand went jut, biu, and then the jut was, in this case, pulling his hand back into another shot. Or, in a delayed action deal, for example, if I had hit him and then he tried to hit again. So, in this case, I went and I poked, but then that shot was coming, so I had to intercept it on its way in. So there's a few different ways I might use that combination. Alright, now I want to talk more about just the biu sao by itself as a defense. So for example, when we're closed against the jab, I can use biu sao to stop that jab. That's where you would not want to use a cross bong sao. In other words, Wing Chun, we do not use bong sao against the cross arm because it has a tendency to collapse. So in a situation where you would have used cross bong, use biu sao instead, it deflects him, it sends him out more. And from there, I just followed up with a pull punch. Now similar, if we were open and he gave me the 1-2, I might bong and then shoot biu because my bong is spent. And again, I could not use the cross bong in that position. So what I did was went bong here, shoot the biu sao, then pull and strike. Now another way I might use biu sao is as an attack in sticky hands. So for example, from the chi sao, if I wanted to shoot, step up here, what I did was, from the low fuk sao position, shot biu to exclude his arm outwards. Stepped up with the punch, and then I just finished him up here. Alright, next I want to talk about the double seongkin, or double punch. So what I'm going to do here, the double punch, in a situation where we're open, could be used after bong, tanda. I could go right into a double punch there, and I've got his arm clamped against my body with that second punch. So what I did was block that first one, Second one was here. Then I just shot in 1, 2. Now, if I wanted to, I could actually use it from sticky hands by scooping and going into the double punch. So you can see that what I did was scooped his hand down, then scooped it in, trapped, and again here at 2 different levels. So it's difficult to block punches that are coming at 2 different levels at the same time. Okay, next I'm going to talk about hang sao, or the long bridge forearm block. It's called long bridge because the bridge is the forearm in Wing Chun. And when you execute with your arm fully locked out, it's like having a long forearm. That's why it's called long bridge. Now there's a couple of ways to use hang sao. One of the more common applications is once I've hit and Gavin tries to hit my body, I shoot my hand straight down into the hang sao. In other words, here, I don't want to bring my hand in first and try to block. It's too late. So from position, I shoot it straight down. That's why in the form, it goes straight down without bending. Now another way I might use it is what's called guatsao, or wiping, clearing hand. For example, if Gavin had thrown the jab and I used kinsuku, I can hang sao, sweep it open like that. So again, what I did was blocked it inwards, and then I needed just to get it out of my way so I wouldn't run into it. So I just scooped it out of the way to clear the way. Then you can follow up with a number of other shots. Now another way I can use hang sao as a guatsao is when I'm being shoved. Continue